Do you remember when we were in the Old Testament, we talked about Jacob and Rachel and how Jacob's name was changed to Israel? Well, Rachel was the mother of their one boy called Joseph, and remember Joseph and his coat of many colors, the dreamer. Just as Joseph protected his brothers and sisters in Egypt from a terrible famine until a wicked Pharaoh took over and made them slaves, even so, God is protecting baby Jesus, because 2 years after Jesus was born, the wise men saw the star and they were following that star. God was leading them to the house where Jesus was. But before they got to the house, they stopped in Jerusalem to Herod, who now had an iron grip on Israel. They were slaves to Rome. And they said, "Mr. Herod, sir," or however they addressed him, "we have heard that there's a new king that's been born in your country, and we would like you to show us where he is, that we can bring him some gifts." And Herod, the sly old snake, said, "Oh, how wonderful. When you find him, please tell me where he is so I can go and worship him too." No, Herod was jealous. He didn't want anybody to be king over him and have his job. So they said, "Can you tell us where Jesus is?" And he said, "No, I can't, but I'll send some guys out to look for him, and maybe we can find him for you." Well, he wanted to kill him, but the wise men wanted to worship him. But the wise men followed that star some more, and it was right above the house where Jesus was. And so they went to the house, and the three wise men gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Oh, what meaning that's going to have later on. So the wise men worshipped Jesus there, and then they went home. But in the meantime, Herod had his nostrils were smoke and fire. He wanted to find Jesus. He hadn't found him. And he got suspicious because the wise men never came back and told him where Jesus was. So he had his men sent out there, and he said, "I want you to kill every child under 2 years old. Slaughter them to be sure you get this new king." And they said, "Yes, sir, we'll do that." So they went. And you know, the sad thing is that as they went there, they just used knives and slaughtered them terrible. Well, this is sounding so much like what happened in Egypt when the wicked pharaohs took over, and baby Moses was born. That was God's little light. His lamp was baby Moses, and Moses was protected in Egypt in the bulrushes in his little ark in the river. And even so, Jesus is being protected now, because in the middle of the night, an angel of the Lord came to Joseph and said, "Get Mary and Jesus, wrap them up quick. You're going to go into Egypt because there's people coming to kill him." And so it says he got up with haste, and they traveled into Egypt for protection. And I'm thinking of so many similarities between Moses, well, first of all, between Joseph, who protected him from a famine in Egypt, and how Moses was protected in Egypt in the bulrushes, and now Jesus is being protected in Egypt. Such similarities there are there. Well, they slaughtered all these kids, and it says, again, like Rachel was weeping for her children. Remember, Rachel was the mother of Joseph. And She's the wife of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. So she has, like, I call it queen authority. But I think it's terrible how Satan has always been out to try to kill God's people, Israel, and how God protects them in the midst of slaughter. The Israelites were protected by Joseph in Egypt from the famine. And then Egypt turned bad with the bad pharaohs. And then baby Moses came to lead him out, but he was in the water, protected in the river, in the reeds in Egypt. And then he led his people out. And now we've got Jesus running and being protected in Egypt again. I think that's a little bit telling of how God is protecting this. Remember I said it's like putting a bottle at the beginning of a river with a precious little package in it, and this bottle is flowing down through history, through the rocks and the broken down tree branches and the mudslides, and Satan's trying to stop it all the time. Well, here's another wonderful picture of one of the battles. Jesus is protected in Egypt. So I'm going to leave it off there. I'm way over time on this one, but I'll be back. Bye-bye.